Okay, so give yourself a moment just to settle, and then find that sense of really connecting down into the feet. So spread out the toes, feel the ball of the big toe, the little toe, all the toe pads touch down, the very center of the heel. Press down in order to create this sense of lifting and lengthening up. Think about the position of the head. So if you are one of those people, as is often the case, where the head is just allowed to slightly press forward, think about just taking the base of the skull back and up, open across chest and upper back. Let the arms just naturally rest, naturally heavy, there's no excess weight there. And then you might even want to just close the eyes. So if you choose to close the eyes, the sensation, the noticeability, if that's even a word, of that little bit of sway that we get when we're standing still probably becomes a little bit greater. If you wanted to increase that sway, moving to the front of the foot and then to the back of the foot, you could do. Now remember, if you do that, don't allow your hips to change. Move the whole of the body weight forward, the whole of the body weight back to center, the whole of the body weight back, the whole of the body weight back to center. That's great. And you might notice the subtle changes that happen as you do that. Think still about pressing down and lengthening up. Think still about opening the width across the body, the position of the head, the lift out the base of the skull. And of course, connecting with the breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale nose or mouth. And find a rhythm that works with the natural speed of your breath. And then you're going to bring it all the way back to center. So find the very center point. Eyes open or closed, start moving into your sliding side bend. If the back of the head, the back of the shoulders, the back of the ribs, the back of the pelvis were against a wall, there would be no movement away from the wall. There's no rotation in this. If you want to turn your head, you can do, of course. If you wanted to add in a little bit of extra weight, you could sweep the arm up and then slide over. That does add a bit of load into the back, so it may or may not suit you. Notice that the weight stays evenly into the feet. It's not a shift of weight from one leg to the other. It's almost as if your lower body is set, held in concrete, if you like. That's lovely. And then bringing it back to center this time, find the even balance and then moving into foot pedals. So the heel will lift in order to really exaggerate the bend of the toe, and then we lift in order to press, lift in order to press. And if you wanted to add a sweep of the opposite arm, you could do. It's entirely up to you. It's just another variation on the theme, isn't it? Find smoothness in the sweep of the arm. So it's fluid. It's almost like a water wheel. There's no beginning, no end. It just continually flows from one element of the movement to the next. You want to feel, though, that there's a movement at the toe, there's a movement in the ankle, there's a movement into the calf. And then release the arms, but move into the alternate knee float. So just increasing that little need for balance. That's great. So the next time you float the right knee up, and if you need fingertip touch, then that's fine, but the next time you float the right knee up, hold the right knee as high as you can, or as close to parallel to the floor as you can, without feeling that you're losing any of the spinal position, okay? And then the idea here is to extend both arms up as the leg reaches forward and then back down again. So imagine, keep it on the same leg, so stay on the same leg, and we're trying to keep the thigh lifted and just press out without feeling that we have to lean back. If you were doing this lying on the floor, this would be single leg forward, both arms back, single leg stretch. but we've added the fun of balance into it. You should feel quite a load into the front of the thigh. Just do one more of those. And then all the way back to center. Your transitions are as smooth as the movement. So bringing left leg up, finding balance, and then moving straight into that extension. So there'll be a lot of work into the hip, there'll be a lot of work into the thighs. Flexibility definitely plays a part here. So we're challenging balance in the standing leg, hip strength in the lifted leg, quad strength in the lifted leg, proprioception so that we know where we are as we do this, ankle strength. That's it, a couple more of those. Try to keep that thigh lifting as you extend that leg out into full length. And then bring it all the way back down and have a little walk through. Lovely, good stuff. All right, everybody, bring yourselves down onto the floor. We're going to start with shoulder bridge. So down to the floor. If you need a little something behind the back of the head because that's just the kind of gal you are, then that's fine. But just take a moment, don't rush through into it. Feet and knees, hip distance. Find the line through the back edge of the body, the balance the back of the pelvis, and then just pop your hands onto your low ribs, onto your lowest ribs. The ribs are not going to lift into the hands as you start the pelvic tilt. Now, how far can you curl from the low spine without feeling those ribs lift into your hands and then release? So really focusing on the movement of your low back. Do something else, Nick. But keeping, in fact, you could do this from seated, Nick. From seated, hands behind the thighs, just the movement of low back. So hands behind your thighs. So the rest of you, when you've done a couple more of those, really focusing on keeping those low ribs down and finding the movement of the lumbar spine, then you can release the hands, start to peel along the rest of the spine. If you wanted to add in the sweep of the arms back, you could do. Find that sense of length of draw, get those low ribs down before the bum lands as you come all the way back down. Release and then release, okay? You all right, Nick? Okay, hands behind your thighs. And all you're gonna do is pull into that low back and then back up again. That's it, yeah. So try not to lengthen the arms as you do that, Nick. That's it, yeah. So you're just rolling back and you're doing exactly the same movement now that the girls are doing from lying. And then you could eventually go from that initial bit, then lengthen those arms, and then curl in on yourself to come through. Don't pull on the arms, and then lift at the end of the movement. There you go. That's great. Good. Couple more of whatever it is you're doing. Just trying to find, while it's still warm, trying to find a little bit more movement out of that spine. And then when you've done your very last one, you girls that are lying in shoulder bridge could just take a moment, maybe roll the knees from side to side or bring the legs in, give yourself a hamstring stretch. Nick, you can just sit back into your hands and release your hips, give the legs a bit of a shake out. Lovely. And then if you're lying, use whatever the little roll is from side to side to bring yourself up to seated. So, if when you sit in mermaid, it feels like you're really falling over to one side, take your yoga block or whatever it is you've got and put it underneath the heavy side, the really heavy side. So it just allows your pelvis to settle a little bit more comfortably, okay? If you don't need it, don't use it, but you just might find it helpful. That's assuming that you're in mermaid. If you're not in mermaid, you've just got the legs forward and you're just going to really work to keep the hip down. So whatever your side shin is, or your side of choice, if the legs are not in mermaid, hands are just going to rest. The opposite arm's going to sweep up. This hip stays anchored down to find opposition, and we just side bend over. Back to center, and you can either drop the arm down or just go straight back into it. It's entirely up to you, but to the same side. You should find it almost impossible if you're in mermaid to lift off that hip. If the legs are forward, then you have to work to keep that same hip down. So the opposition is from the fingers to the hip. That's what we're looking for, this sense of really opening up. Now, you could carry on doing that, or come up and over, take a breath in, keep the arm within the frame, bring the torso round and then reach. Try not to drop your arm down, just keep the arm in the periphery of the vision, reach, back to center, and then all the way through, okay? So if you're adding that rotation, don't lead with the arm, lead with the rotation of your ribs. It's a restricted movement, there'll be hardly anything. That's great. So it will be a lift, a reach over, a breath in, and then rotate in order to reach further. So you get this lovely back line reach, and then back to center and up. And then bring it all the way back to center this time. Take the hand you've just been wafting around, take the block away if you're using it, and then sit into that hand in order to release the legs, take the pressure from the knees. Give the legs a bit of shake out, and then you can change sides to the other side. So again, if you feel that you're just a little bit too heavily unbalanced, block underneath the heavy side. It will take pressure out of the hips, out of the knee. And then hand rest, we're not yanking, we're not pulling, we're just lifting, keeping that hip down and then easing over. You could, if you wanted to, turn your head so you could look to see where you're going, but there's no weight here. You don't really need to use that hand because you can't go that far. It's not like you're going to fall over and onto that side, is it? You just can't go that far. Pilates face, Emma. That wasn't it. You can carry on like that if you want to, or you can add on the rotation. So as the arm comes up, it's just within the edge of the vision. As we add the rotation, it stays within the edge of the vision. And then we reach. So we've not dropped the arm heavily into view. We've literally just worked on that little bit of upper rotation. It's not even a full rotation. It's not even the fullest rotation. You get much more rotation if you were to do this in Archer or something, but it's just that, it's almost just the top of the ribs that try to turn. That's it. A couple more of those. With or without that bit of extra. Lovely. That's great. And then when you've come back to center, you might want to take that block away, sit back into that same hand so it just releases the pressure on the knee, and you can give those legs a bit of a shake out. Okay, so Choose whichever seated position you want to be in, other than cross-legged. You could still sit on your blocks. We are going to go into a fuller rotation now. So you could either do your classic spine twist, or you could do archer, okay? So the point now, keeping the pelvis steady again, is to get more movement out of more ribs. Pelvis pretty still beneath you. And find a smooth edge of range. So find the end of range. And remember, you could, if you wanted to, turn the head, bring it back to center, come back to center. Let your shoulders be naturally dropped. And think about lifting up from the base of the spine and the position of the head. If you've gone to classic position in prayer, then just notice that you've not brought your chin to your head, to your fingers, sorry. You brought your fingers back to your chin. That's great. Pelvis steady, keep lifting up. Remember, we naturally spiral down a little as we rotate. So try to find that sense of lifting and building and opening as you return to center. A couple more times. Excellent. And then when you've done the last one, all the way back. And again, you could, if you want to, just give those legs a moment. We're going to go into side bend. So many variations here for side bend. You could be on the hand, you could be on the forearm. Okay? So if wrists are an issue, then forearm is very definitely the better alternative for you. You want to be mindful again of the position of your head. Don't let your head hang forward. And if that means that not only do you bring your chin back, but you also turn the head slightly, so you've got slightly less pressure in the neck, then do that. Legs could be bent and stacked. Top leg could be straight. Both legs could be straight. Both legs could be stacked. Loads of variations. Okay, so from here, lift up, lift out, and then come up and over, and then back down. So we are again looking for a side bend, okay? So this isn't a plank that we're looking for. We're not looking for a nice straight plank. I want you to really imagine somebody's got a hold of the outside edge of your pants and is properly lifting you up to the ceiling without adding any rotation into it. So notice that we don't rotate into the floor as we do this. That's great. The lift is strong, the land is soft. That's lovely. Couple more of these. Watch out for that compression. Create that sense of lifting up and away. And then when you've done the last one, bring it all the way back down. Come away from that, shrug the shoulder, check in with the neck, check in with the wrist, whatever you're doing, and then simply sweep the legs around to the opposite side. Don't assume that the way you did it on one side is going to be the same on the other. You might have been on the hand on one side, you might need to go onto the forearm for the other. You might have the legs long on one side, you might have the legs shorter on the other. Doesn't really matter. Remember, the longer the limbs, generally speaking, the heavier the load. So it might be, for some people who perhaps, I've got a couple of people at the moment who've really got shoulder issues, so if anybody's watching this video later and that's one of you, you might just get that feeling of not lifting the hip, but just getting the sense of length and lightness. So you might not even lift the hip, but you just want to get this feeling of lifting up, of trying to lift the ribs, of still creating a little bit more length in the upper side of the body than the lower side. It's just another variation. So watch out for that, because very often we have to modify one side compared to the other. That's great. once again, be really aware of the lift out of the shoulder, the reduction of compression rather than the accumulation of compression. And then bring it all the way back down, take a seat and have a moment. Check in with neck, shoulders, and then carefully lay yourself all the way down onto the tummy. Now, as you lay down, just put the left hand underneath the forehead and then reach forward with the right arm. Okay. So the front edge of the pelvis, of course, is always wants to connect. Okay. And then without rolling or pushing, as you inhale, raise right arm, right leg, and then back down. So right arm, right leg, and then back down. Now, as always, if for whatever reason the shoulder doesn't work for you, just do the legs, okay? But we're looking to keep that openness around the low back. So be mindful of how the front of the pelvis connects in order to maintain the length of the lower back curve, the openness of that curve. Now, you could, if you wanted to, also add a spinal extension, not by pushing down into the arm, but by contracting through the back edge of the body, lifting from behind the breastbone, so that arm and leg lift, but then so also does face, collarbones, uppermost ribs. Let the back edge of the body do the work. So it's a pull, not a push. A couple more of these, and then slide, hand under, seamlessly change side. It's like a dance, and continue on the other side. Initially without the spinal extension, just arm and leg to begin with. So no movement from head, let the forehead rest. Let the head be steady, shoulders wide. Just work back of shoulder, down that side of the spine, into glutes, hamstrings, opening up the hip up front. That's it. And then if you want to, thinking about lifting from right behind the breastbone, also lifting face, collarbones, uppermost ribs. You'll feel that slight slide down through the back edge of the ribs, but without any rotation and of course without any sense of pushing out of the floor. It's all about the pull. That's lovely. Watch out for that length in the neck. It's not a nod of the head. It is a lift from behind breastbone. Couple more of those. And then allow both hands to slide underneath the forehead. Have a moment and just rock those hips. And then carefully in your own time, bring yourself to hands and knees. Or if it works better for you, again, because wrists might be an issue, then forearms is fine. So, if you're going to add the arm hold in, okay, then all we're aiming to do is to raise the arm as close to parallel as we can get it, and then nothing else happens. That just stays lifted. You could, of course, just do the legs, keeping both arms down, okay? So the legs, excuse my bottom. You're going to extend away and lift. Back of pelvis remains steady. Try and keep the pelvis and the waist pretty still. And we're going to touch over and out. Over and out, okay? So if you're not using the hands, that's fine. Then you just and we're looking to try and get the leg over the midline, so to the opposite side, which will open up the outside edge of the hip without feeling that we're wagging our tail too deeply. So let it come out the hip rather than out of the waist and the low back. If you've chosen to also raise the arm, it's added a certain element of balance into it. And of course, it's really adding into the endurance of the muscles of the upper back. That's great. Whatever you're doing, whether you've got both hands down or one hand down, press the ground from you. Find that press away to engage through the upper body. And then bring that leg back to center. Bring the arm down if you haven't already, and then change. So either lift and hold the arm. Keep the back of the pelvis very steady, very still. And then literally just rainbow the foot from one side to the other without feeling that we're getting too bell-like in the hip. So find the movement out of the outer edge of hip and thigh. A little squeeze to the inside edge of the inner thigh up into the groin as well as the leg comes over. That's great. That's the one. If that arm feels like it's starting to wilt a bit, lift it back up. So really hold into the back of the shoulder, reach the arm out, find the length in the neck. Let's do a couple more of those if you can. And then back to center. Maybe sit back towards your heels or come onto your heels, but give those wrists a good old shake out, because whether you were on both hands or one hand, still lots of load into the wrist there. And then when you're done, bring yourselves up, because you're done. You're done. Thanks, everybody.